Hey, GenderqueerChat, Joe here. I'm the queen of the backlit bullshit, and I'm really sorry about that. I don't know why I keep doing this to you guys, but it is Monday. I'm a day late again. I'm like the worst Sunday person ever because I'm a Monday person fundamentally. But big shout out to Nat, the new person, who just posted intro videos. So go back and watch those. And big shout out to Stacy for doing the topics. We have 6 weeks worth of topics that I'm fairly useless at compiling. Stacy did that. We are very happy about that. A big shout out to my new, I was going to say homegirl, homie. I'm going to say my homie Christina, which I got to meet last week in Toronto. We had such a good time. You really made my pride fantastic. So thank you, Christina. Okay, so this week's topic is how did you come to self-identify as genderqueer and what factors played into that decision? Okay, so I guess looking back on my life, I guess the word that I used in the early days, like childhood, would have been tomboy. Angry a lot of the time, like a little angry, and no way to articulate why I was angry or what I was angry about. But you know, people like this, little kids who are just kind of pissed off at the world. As I got into puberty, well, flash over puberty for a second, and I'll go into my late teens. I discovered the gay world. I was living in downtown Toronto at the time, and I made friends with a bunch of gay guys, and then more friends with a bunch of gay guys, and basically all my friends were gay men. And at that time, when I was about 19, I remember coining the phrase gay man trapped in a straight woman's body. That was the best I could do at the time. That's how I felt. I felt like I fit in the gay world, but I wasn't gay, so I wasn't a I didn't have any desire to fit into a lesbian world. That wasn't my reality. But I felt like a gay man trapped in a straight woman's body because I knew I was always attracted to men, including in my childhood, not just teen years, not just puberty, but prepubescent. I always liked boys. So flash back a little bit there to puberty. There was a time when, okay, so in grade school, I didn't hit puberty till high school actually. So in grade school, a lot of the girls that I went to elementary school with were early bloomers. They were Portuguese and Italian. They were very voluptuous by grade 6 and wearing bras and having their periods and stuff. And I never fit into that world at all. I still had one of my best friends in grade school was a boy, gay, who grew up to be a gay man, who was a gay boy at the time. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. The few that I had, kind of rough and tumble a little bit. Like I had some tomboyish friends, but I didn't have any girly girlfriends. And I look back now because I still sort of remain friends with a few of them. Claudia is one. Vicky, who I spoke to, well, I haven't spoken to her in a couple of years, but I did see her a couple of years ago, and Andrea, who is on my Facebook, and they're all, married with kids. They're all married with kids, and they grew up to be, I guess, conventional women, so to speak, but they're not, glam or into that kind of thing. So, okay, then in my late teens, I discovered I was a gay man trapped in a straight woman's body. In my early 20s, I did wear makeup a little bit. I didn't ever shave. I shaved up until I was about 18, I think, and then I stopped. 19 maybe? When I discovered feminism through my sister, who is a year older than me, and went to university and took some women's studies courses, and that's sort of when I discovered feminism. And I was marveling at this new world, although I still felt, and I remember at that time there was a thing in the 90s where people would spell the word women WOMYN because you didn't want to put the word man in there because it's not like you have anything to do with being a man. And I kind of embraced that a little bit, but it never felt right. It always felt awkward. I worked in a bookstore with a bunch of feminists, and one of my coworkers, her name was Roxanne, and I remember she was very angry feminist, like that typical angry feminist, and she hated everybody and was rude to everybody. She was very rude to me until one day when I came to work in shorts and she saw that I had hairy legs. And suddenly I was her best friend, and I remember being marveling a little bit at that, at the sisterhood, I guess, and how easy it was to fit in with other feminists after a lifetime of not fitting in with conventional women. So in and around those years, I participated like in the top free march over the Peace Bridge in Buffalo, in Ontario, between Ontario and New York State, there was a protest in the early 90s to allow women to walk around without a shirt on and not be charged criminally with indecent exposure. I think it had a lot to do with breastfeeding at the time, but it is a sexist law. There was a lot of things I did, and I hung around a lot of feminists at that time in my life. But I always felt kind of like, I guess if I had to put a word to it, it'd be like the kid sister. Like I always kind of felt like my sister's kid sister, or the feminist movement's kind of pesky kid sister who didn't really, I wasn't part of the grown-ups table. Like I wasn't part of the thing. I was kind of on the periphery of it. Like maybe one day I would grow up to be a real, mover and shaker in the feminist world, but I felt like I wasn't there yet, and I didn't even really know, because it didn't feel right using the word woman to describe myself. I couldn't ever embrace it fully. I embraced it as best I could, but I couldn't embrace it fully. So in my mid-20s, I had a boyfriend for several years, and I lived a very conventional heteronormative life. I was a straight woman with a straight man. We were having straight sex, doing straight normal things, not normal, straight heteronormative normal things. Like I was doing his laundry and he was fixing my car. And I remember one day specifically doing his laundry while he was fixing my car, and the light bulb went off over my head, and I realized that I didn't want to be this person. I really couldn't stand the gender roles we'd fallen into. Luckily, he was kind of an interesting guy. He was pretty open sexually for a straight guy. Like, he didn't have many hang-ups about his body, or like what could be perceived as gay sex or gay types of activities, and he was pretty easygoing that way. And also, you got to remember, I've always had body hair, and he never even batted an eye about that. It didn't bother him at all. And that's pretty precious when you're a genderqueer person and you're not. I've always been relatively comfortable in my own skin, but the fact is that a lot of straight guys are not into that, and it can be an issue. And luckily with him, and with actually all my exes, it wasn't, or at least it wasn't, as far as they let me know. So then it was in my 30s. Just trying to think of my 30s. Wow, that's a bit of a fog. And I started to, oh, pardon me, in my 20s I discovered Dworkin, radical feminism. We did a whole video on if you Google radical feminism, GenderqueerChat, you'll see what we said on those topics. And radical feminism I enjoyed that even more than conventional feminism. I thought that was right up my alley. I love anything kind of intense. I'm an intense person. I'm just reading here what factors played in. Okay, I'm gonna get that light off my face. Okay, so then in my 30s, I'm not 100% sure what I was doing in my 30s. I was working in a male-dominated environment where I still work, and I was progressively getting more and more situated in my own skin. This backlit is nasty. I'm really sorry. Getting situated in my own skin, like I really came into my own in my 30s, and I really started to feel good about myself and my body and my choices, and specifically my choice to remain single, and also my choice to remain child-free, which I had always, like, I never had any issues about that anyway. But, I'm 40 now, and as I've grown into this 40-year-old body, it's become very apparent that this is who I am. I wish I'd had these words younger, but I didn't. I discovered the word genderqueer. So what was the question? How did you come to self-identify as genderqueer? Almost 9 minutes into the video, and I'm just getting to it. It was Chaz Bono's coming out in 2009, and it led me to a bunch of videos on CNN, one of which was Aiden Kennedy, who is, I don't know what his YouTube name is, but he has a YouTube channel, Aiden Kennedy's Trans Man. And that led me to other trans videos, led me to Tranny Star Galactica, which was my favorite collab channel for a long time, till I got this one, till I met this one. Also, I discovered a YouTuber named Freshly Charles, and that was the first time I'd ever heard the word genderqueer. And Freshly Charles was interesting because they were using like a gel, I think like a testosterone gel. They weren't using injections, and they didn't want to transition completely. They just wanted more masculine features, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but I remember it being weird to me. Like, what a concept. Like, I still had binary thinking at the time, and I still thought A lot of trans people were born one sex and wanted to transition to be the other sex. I didn't know about these half measures, this way of just transitioning partially, or not even transitioning, but just living your authentic life, which is occasionally, as the word, and I came to know it, was genderqueer. And the bells were ringing in my head. I just suddenly, it all made sense. That was a word to describe me. And of course, I Googled it, Wikipedia'd it, and I embraced the word instantly. I just watched Nat's video and I was marveling at the word gender journey because I don't think of it as a journey for myself. It was a jump right in the deep end for me once I discovered the word. And I don't remember spending a lot of time confused about who I was. I just remember spending a lot of time angry about the world I lived in. That's the best way to put it. And since I have come to terms with being genderqueer, I'm not angry about the world anymore. It's very, very strange sensation to not have. Always felt like something was wrong, and now nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I'm genderqueer, and it's a good thing. It's nothing wrong with who I am or what I am. The world still, I probably could and should be angry at the way the world treats certain races, certain genders, the way there's gender expectations. I can and I do get angry about the pink and blue fucking nonsensical world we live in. But I'm not furious about it like I used to be, like as it applied to me. I used to feel like I was being personally persecuted about not fitting in. Like for something that just pops to mind is, your friend. A lot of my girlfriends would say things like, if we were going bar hopping, and I did go bar hopping in the '90s and stuff. Oh, you'll probably want to put on makeup. You'll feel better, as if my feelings have anything to do with the way I look, because I guess a lot of women feel that way, and they kind of understand each other's need to look a certain way to feel good about themselves. And because it didn't apply to me, I always felt like they were crazy. I never felt like there was something wrong with me. I always felt like they were crazy. And that's harkens back to my judgmental Catholic upbringing. But I think I can be very hard on women and the choices they make because I was in that category for so long, and I was sometimes expected to make similar decisions, and I got some flack for not participating in my own oppression, as I used to call it. I used to always say, I will not participate in my own oppression. And then women would get very angry at me because I was implying that they were, etc. And then I never really got too angry about how men were, what society expects of men and how they are treated, until I was with my ex and he had kids, and it became very apparent that the court system is very unfair towards fathers. Like, a mother can be a really shitty mother, but she'll probably get custody over a really shitty father. This type of thing used to drive me crazy. I'm like at the 13-minute mark. I gotta cut this short, but apparently I could talk a long time about this. Welcome, Nat. Welcome. Hope we get some good videos this week. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.